majority of it when I gave him a 30-minute lecture. So, the skin, the largest organ surface area, and you're going to ask yourself, since this is the largest organ surface area, so what's the purpose of the skin? What do they do?
Protection acts as a barrier.
They secrete, they absorb, they protect, and what else? What do they secrete?
Sweat.
Good.
Oil.
Oil. What else? How they protect?
The tissues.
Yes, yes, because of the thick layer of the epidermis, right? They have what in their tissue that allows them to be what?
Langer hot cell.
Epithelial.
No, not pressure and touch. Those
Yeah. Epithelial tissue. Like the one epithelial cells.
That's not what I was looking for. I was looking for a word like start with a K. It's called keratin. So what is keratin? What is keratin?
It grows your hair, skin, and nails, and
Excellent.
it's a barrier.
You know the horns of the animal?
Yeah.
That's keratin. All that is keratin. Now, what's so special about keratin? Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
What do you know about castor oil? Because I just bought a big old bottle of it on Amazon.
Castor, okay, number one, you're not from my time, so back in my days, in the early 40s, this is post-war, major war, World War II. Right after the war, there's no such thing as stool softener or fiber,
Well,
okay?
I'm not using it for that.
Okay, so, just listen to me, hear me out. So what they did every year to help you kind of like per se clean you out, it does clean you out, it cleans your liver out. It cleans your liver out. You take 1 teaspoon of castor oil, your favorite bedroom, your favorite room of the whole house will be the bathroom because you will be going to the bathroom every 15 minutes. That's what the castor oil was. Now, castor oil back in the turn of the century, in the early 1800s, they used castor oil for everything, on your wound, to your cut. It was like one of those magic oil for everything, right?
Okay.
But what they found out over time was that it makes you like crazy, and they put it on hair to make your hair moisturized. But here's the bad part about it: when you put castor oil on your hair, all you're doing is you kill the natural symbiotic bacteria, and then on top of that, you attract you're a dust magnet, and all the other bacteria you're going to pick up is going to be embedded in that area.
So what I was thinking is from my eyelashes and then just the
No,
ends.
don't use it on your eyelid. Do not let it get in your eyes.
But that's what everyone does.
No, don't do it.
It's rated so highly on Amazon.
Don't do it.
Well, when I come back in 3 weeks with luscious lashes, I'm going to tell you I told you so.
Okay. Go for it. Let me know.
Okay, I will.
That'd be a good experiment on me.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
try it out.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. My mom's spa, they don't use castor oil. They use castor oil on the nails and the pedicure and stuff like that to pre-treat it. Then they wash it, then they go and cut it and take care of the cuticle.
Huh.
Yeah.
I could do that too.
Yeah. So that's a good idea.
Okay, so that relates to hair, skin, and nails.
Yeah, yeah. So let's go back to this largest organ. Now, skin. So let's go ahead and read this, Cassidy.
Consists of 3 major regions. The epidermis is the outermost superficial region. The dermis is the middle region. And the hypodermis is the deepest region.
Is this considered skin?
No.
No.
Very good. The skin is this too. ED is the skin, not the H. All right. This is the fascia. This is the fascia. Okay. And this is the deepest region. The reason why they're fascia is because they consist of areolar tissues and adipose tissue. You know, so these are the skin. And as we delve into deeper of the slides, we'll see why the epidermis and dermis are considered the skin. So let's look at this here. You might want to take a pic of that because this is. Remember, my lecture is looking at the overall picture. I don't want to give you little bits and pieces and make you come up with a big picture. What I like to do is give you a big picture initially from the very get-go. Then we're going to go into little bits and pieces. So look at the big picture first, then we're going to get into what? The little picture, the more elaborate information about it. So look at this very carefully. This is all the integumentary system, okay? But here you got the accessory structure and you get the cutaneous membrane. Okay, cutaneous, this fancy word for skin is what? the integumentary as a big marker for skin. But look at this word, cutane. What's cutane mean? Cuta. It's skin in Latin. So the skin conditioned membrane. And then accessory structures. And what are the accessory structures?
Hair follicles.
Hair follicles, you got the exocrine glands, then you got the nails. That's full of dead keratin or thick keratin. So now look at this here. We said protection. How's it thermoregulate?
From the fats and stuff. Well,
Sweat.
technically.
Excellent. She said sweat. Why does sweat work on your skin?
It brings out like the hot.
The harmful toxins.
No, when it's
Brings
like
up
on you,
toxins.
like your body gets cooled down because it's like how heat transfers on water. It's like
Excellent.
how
Excellent.
pigs go in the mud.
Rotman got the right idea. He's describing the word called convection. So when you get sweat, you know you feel cool because when the little light wind comes, that heat, did you remember a first law of thermodynamics? When that heat is lost, when you're doing activity to cool down, that wind comes in and contacts this sweat because it's an excellent conductor of heat. That heat arises and the wind picks the heat up and draws it out. So if you're under a fan, it's best to have the fan pointing away from you because it pulls the heat away from you versus hitting on you. Because you know these astronauts that come from the atmosphere, they're coming down so fast. But I'm not saying the wind is coming so fast. But if it goes so fast, all these molecules in the air create heat. So the higher the fan is and hitting your body, you're doing less cooling than if you were doing it the opposite way. That's why when you go to a restaurant and stuff, they have the fan on real slow and they put it on the opposite way. So the draws the heat away from everybody. And don't stay concentrated in one area. So that's thermoregulation. Now, what is the synthesis and storage of lipid reserve? We talked about the fat, triglyceride. It goes to the fat cells. If you eat glucose, you eat too much of it, and the body has enough glucose, and it has enough glycogen in the liver, and you get fatty liver, then the leftover glycogen that it picks up, it converts into triglyceride. The triglyceride goes in your blood system, it goes to the fat cell storage. Excretion, what is excreting? Two things. You got sweat and you got oil. Now, there's a special, you got the sodium chloride, that's why the sweat is salty. And also it has some, I want to say kind of like a,
Hormones?
no, not only hormone, but I'm talking about a product called dermacidin. It's that antibacterial component to it.
Should we know that? Dermacidin?
Yeah, you should know that because I'm saying it.
Got it.
Okay, so derm and C-I-D-I-N, dermacidin. So that's excretion. What is the synthesis of vitamin D3? What is that? What is the proper name for vitamin D that your body uses to undergo metabolism? Because when the body absorbs these quantas of photons from the sunlight, goes into your skin and takes that component of that protein, it goes to the liver and it processes that. So what we call calciferol. Calciferol is the name that the body uses in form of vitamin D3 to undergo further metabolism, any metabolism, glucose metabolism, lipid metabolism, protein metabolism, all the metabolism in your body use that vitamin or calciferol. Sensory information. What is the sensory information? He said one. He said Langerhans cell. What's the other one, Carlos? What's the other sensor? Touch sensor, pressure.
Deep pressure, like
What
Persian gland or Persian?
Pacinian and Merkel cells and Langerhans cells. Those are all part of the sensory information. Also, you got a special muscle inside your hair follicle. What is that? You named it, Sam. What is that? Excellent. So that is also, what's the purpose of that erector pili muscle anyway?
It's like goosebumps and stuff.
Yeah, I know it's a goosebump, but what's the purpose of it? Not because you're scared. Anyone know?
Increased touch sensation or kind of like you're sensitive. Because when you have goosebumps, you're like
No,
really
it's
sensitive.
you're like in alert mode.
Yeah, she said the right word. Alert mode, because why? Because back in antiquity, when you were hominid, or prior hominids when they're developing into primate. No, I didn't say that. But in biology, that's what they teach you. But I could contest it. So anyway, going back with this is that if you have you're going around, running around jungle, and you're bare naked and you're hairy, and that if you get insects or something crawling on your skin, what's the first thing that senses it? Your erectile pili muscle telling you there's something crawling on your skin. Yeah. Then also, your skin has dendrites in there from your neuron to touch and sense. Saying the Passian, the Merkel cell, and the Langerhans cell. So these are all part of the sensory information. We're going to go over more depth later on, but I just want to give you the bigger picture. And let's see here. We got the hair follicle, you got exocrine gland. We already went over that. We went over the nails. And why is your hair oily anyway? Naturally, why is your hair oily? Anyone know? Why is your hair oily?
To protect your scalp.
Excellent.
Oh,
Your
wow.
hair. Yeah. So now the dermis, you got epidermis. We're going to go over epidermis right away. We'll go over that. Yes.
You didn't go over that last one. Is that going to be on the exam?
Of course.
Coordination of immune response.
Yeah. We're going to go over that. That one I have to elaborate in the very last.
Got it.
So I want you to take a pic of this. This is what you're going to have to know. So go over here and take a pic. And I wish they wrote it bigger, but.
Or, I can send you all the pictures.
Yeah.
So here, look at this guy. There's a few words that I want you to know, that I want you to get familiarized with. What is ecrine? And these are supposed to be R, holocrine. So ecrine, holocrine, and apocrine. Ecrine is pseudo. What is pseudo in Latin? Sweat. Seba, what's seba in Latin? Oil. So that is what? Holocrine. Holocrine is like rupture of the oil. So holocrine is seba or sebaceous gland. Yeah, seba, sebaceous. Pseudopharesis is a ecrine sweat gland. Apocrine. What is the name, the biological word for your underarm? Axillary. It starts with the A. Axillary. So the dead bacteria you kill under your arm, the smell of it comes from there. And it has composition of the lipid quality. Okay. Yes.
In my last class, to remember the apocrine gland, we remembered like AAA. So apocrine, armpit, asshole, they all stink. Those are the glands in those areas.
Everybody, like I said, everybody in this room has their own set of symbiotic bacteria that lives in the skin. So if you stink more, then you got wonderful bacteria that make you stink. So,
Well, that explains Sammy.
especially when you wear tights. Yeah.
So like Asian people don't really smell in their sweat if they have like a certain genetic components?
No, it's not genetic component. It's mostly you got symbiotic bacteria. What makes certain, you have certain smell everybody gets if you don't bathe, if you don't eat right, if you eat properly, like a lot of fermented food and probiotic food, you hover that bacteria down to a normal safe level. But if you don't bathe, you don't eat proper food, you don't bathe yourself, keep yourself clean, that bacteria goes higher. So that bacteria is beneficial in a certain way to a certain extent in moderation, but if you have overgrowth of it, and if you cut your skin and that gets in your system, it's going to cause problems. You know MRSA? What's MRSA?
It's like a skin disease.
It's an infection.
It's a bacteria that is resistant to antibiotic. Methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus. Staphylococcus aureus, several strain, lives on your skin. Whatever strain you have is symbiotic to your body. So not all bacteria is beneficial, but if they stay in a certain area, it's okay because it lives with you all your whole life. Now the question is, when is it bad? When is it good? And I told you guys before, I don't know if I mentioned, if I told you or in my other class, but let's say the female, you wear the tight legging, does that leggings really, it looks nice and everything, but does it benefit you? Because female tend to get 10 times more UTI than male because of the meatus and urethra is a further distance from the bladder. Now, female are most prone to it because if they wear tight, if they wear those spandex type leggings, then they wear those spandex type underwear that's trapping moisture, trapping heat, and you're not breathing. So you're growing that bacteria and you're shoving all that right into your meatus of your urethra, where you're gonna collect those bacteria and E. coli. So number 2 is that you should be using breathable material that's 100% cotton underwear. If you wear leggings, trying to wear mostly 80% cotton and anything else, whatever is in there. But I would definitely use cotton, and that would decrease the chance of having UTI. And that's one of the reasons why you want to make sure the apocrine, the bacteria, the smell you get is because what you're trapping. Number one, what does bacteria like? They like moisture and they like dark and they want to be non-breathing. So you get more collection of it. That's why you get increased smell, because these bacteria over time, they die off, and this dead bacteria is what gives off the smell, the certain smell, and that's what that is. So if you put deodorant on there, what are you doing? You're just burying the bacteria. That's all you're doing. All right? You gotta do it the Korean way you do it. They get sandpaper towel and just scrub out of it. I'm not kidding you. I am not kidding you. They scrub.
Is that good for you?
Yeah, it actually make their stratum basal to work
Where
overwork.
may I find this? Great word.
Go to Spa World and Katie. They are ruthless.
Is it
They
not
just
similar to
scrub
like a
the heck out of you.
Yeah, when you go to Korean bathhouse, oh,
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
The harder ones, that's what it's like. after-
go to H Mart. Look, go to H Mart. Ask one of where's the Korean bath towels, and they literally look like sandpaper. They're so
I
strong.
use like sugar scrub every night. Is
Oh,
that similar?
that is nothing. You just get that thing, put a little soap on it, liquid soap, and I use Dr. Teal. And I put Dr. Teal and that thing in it, and I scrub.
They have like mints too that you can put on.
Oh,
See, I like it.
man.
I got it.
Like the
Yeah.
They're ruthless.
And you know what? The more you use that, the fresher and younger you'll look.
That's why Asians and Koreans have really beautiful skin.
I don't have beautiful skin. I have real thick skin,
Well,
oily
that's
skin, oily skin,
I don't do any
oily.
of this
You're
stuff.
supposed to be the walking advertisement. You're gonna tell us about this sand. I'm gonna go to Target.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, anyway, here, this is a picture of skin, guys. So you got the epidermis right here, epidermis, and then you got the dermis right there in the middle. Then you got the hypodermis. And it consisted of what? Fascia, areolar tissue, and fat. Yeah, adipose. So let's look at this epidermis here. Let's look at this epidermis. So the same thing. Another picture of epidermis. Now, what is this, guys?
Oh, Pacinium.
Yeah. Look at this. What is this?
Uh,
Eccrine. And what is it? Look at this muscle. What is this muscle called? This is
Erect-
gonna
erect-
look at
erect-
100%. Girl, 100%. I will ask you this question on the practical and on the test. Look at this here. SEBA. What is SEBA?
Oil.
Sebaceous oil gland. Look at this. Meissner. Look at this, guys. Look. Meissner. Passion. The other one is Merkel cells. We're gonna go over that.
So
But
these are all gonna be on the exam.
they're all gonna be an exam. 100%. That's why I'm pointing it out to you. Now, look at this word. Right here on the bordering, the very end of the epidermis and the border of dermis, you have a layer called
Papillary.
papillary layer of the dermis, or AKA dermal papillae. The reason I'm telling you dermal papillae, because dermal papillae is what gives out dermal ridges. They wrote it wrong. Who wrote that? Good Lord.
what you wrote.
No, I didn't write that. Dermal, look guys, Look, guys, this is dermal ridges. Dermal ridges arise for fingerprints. Okay? So remember, the papillary layer, aka dermal papillae, rise to dermal ridges. The dermal ridges arise to fingerprint. This will be on your exam, 100%. Louis, you got it? What gives you what arise the fingerprints?
The dermal regions.
Ridges.
The whole from the epidermis, the dermis layer, or the epidermis layer?
The dermis layer.
What part of the dermis layer? The two parts of the dermis layer.
Papillary.
Papillary layer. What papillary to what layer? AKA dermal papillae. Dermal papillae to dermal ridges. Then dermal ridges to the fingerprint. If you don't write that in that order, guess what? You're gonna get -1, -1, -1, -1. That one question has 4 components to it. So if you don't write all 4, you're gonna get -4 on it. So make sure you write it down because that's my favorite thing to question on your exam on a short-ended question.
Can you say the answer again?
Huh?
Can you say how you, the 4 things?
Yeah. You're gonna take papillary layer, then you're gonna take dermal papillae, then you're gonna take dermal ridges, then you're gonna take fingerprint. And that's gonna be one of your short answers.
When you say arises, you just mean like it becomes
The next
going
next
upward?
sequence, yeah, the next sequence, the next layer. Yeah. So let's go over the next end here. Skin model. So this is a skin model that you guys are gonna see in your lab. You already seen this. This will be on your practical, and you're gonna get the what day is your practical?
21st.
Thank you very much. And then there's gonna be labels like this, and you're gonna have to know. They're gonna look, guys. This is even better. I just talked to my department chair. I talked to the lab director, and I talked to all 2 of them. They're gonna have it set up. We're not gonna take it in this lab room. We're gonna go to room 105,
Oh boy.
all the way to the back. They're gonna have the room set up. All you have to do is come to the door, get in, and you just take the test. We come back here and we lecture.
But how are you supposed to know what's in there?
I already know because I already gave them direction.
Oh, they're setting it up Kim's way.
I handle what I want. They set it up, and I just go in there and have it all ready for you. All you do is print out the paper and give it to you, and you go take the
Are
test.
they gonna do that every time now?
Yeah. I told him because I have no time because I don't want to
Yeah.
come here 2 hours ahead of time that I'm rushing 30 minutes trying to set up and just too much work. And I just told him I had a big headache with this first practical on it. I'm not gonna do that again.
Well, I say your helpers were pretty helpful.
Thank you. Don't think I don't appreciate it. I appreciate it. So epidermis. Let's go ahead and read this for me, Carlos.
Okay, epidermis.
Merkel cell.
Composed of keratinized stratified squamous epithelium consisting of 4 distinct cell types and 4 or 5 layers. Cell types include keratinocytes, melanocytes, Merkel cells, and Langerhans cells. Outer portion of the skin is exposed to the external environment and functions in protection.
Okay, what is keratinocyte again? What do they produce?
Keratin.
Keratin, waterproofing material. What is melanocyte?
Melanin.
They produce the melanin for the coloration of your skin. For what purpose? Protect you from what?
The sun.
Exactly what part of the sun?
Radiation.
UV.
That's right, UV light. Yeah. So, does anyone, just FYI, does anyone know about the theory, if we all evolved out of Northern Africa and evolutionally changed out throughout the continent of this world, why is there so many different coloration of people from the north to all the way down south of Africa? Why is there a huge difference in coloration? Does anyone know the theory behind that?
The closer they are to the equator.
That's very good to start with because the equator is the hottest part of the of Earth because we're in the axis with the sun. So that's going to be the hottest part. So if you have more sun, you develop more what?
Melanin.
Melanin, right? So if you do, why would those individuals need to have more melanin?
These are exposed
Closer to
to
the sun.
What does UV light do to your body?
Mutation.
Mutation. the radiation, the more radiation, you go under radiation, what happens to your DNA? You ruin them. You have more increased chances of mutation. So you change that. So now the theory is this. So now you know that melanocytes produce more melanin, and you know that if you live in the equator, you're gonna have more melanin. So you're gonna be what? Darker or lighter? Darker. So why is there huge differentiation in coloration from the north? Let's say Greenland versus down here in South Africa.
Because they have long nights, or like long periods.
Where is Greenland at? Close to the Arctic.
Yeah.
Yes.
How many days of sunlight do they have there?
30.
Less than 30. You're lucky to get 20 days out of it.
I know
So-
it's black, like there's a black time.
Yeah, it's pitch black. So, but you get the reflection. Okay, number two is that now, since you know that idea now, I'm trying to make you follow this analogy. Now, what do you obtain by being in the sun through your action of your skin?
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D, calciferol. What's the purpose of calciferol? Your overall metabolism of your body for your health and your homeostasis, right?
So if you're pale, you can get more.
Yeah. So here's the theory. If you go north and these people go out of northern Africa and go straight over to Greenland, do you want to produce more melanocyte? No.
You want to absorb
So
as much sunlight.
the texture of your the skin complexion, your hair texture, your nail, everything changes when you leave the equator further away from the equator toward the Arctic. And that's the theory why there's huge differences on the coloration of skin. Now, the attributes of how we look, that's a different story, okay? But this is just for the skin color. So that's where the theory on the melanocyte, because of the vitamin D theory, okay? So Merkel cells, pressure, Langerhans cells, the other sensory receptor cells. Outer portion of skin is exposed to the external environment and function to protect. That's the main one. Now here's epidermis. You got these layer here. I want you to remember this. Cute little girl sing badly. Cassidy has an awesome one that she has, but I like this one. Okay, and so if you want to remember Cassidy, that's fine, that's up to you. But for this class and lecture, I like to use cute little girl sing badly. Okay, because the cute C is what? Corneum. Little is lucidum. Girl is granulosum. The sing S is spinosum. The badly B is basal. So out of the 5, which one of those only pertain to the thick portion of your skin, primarily your palm and your sole? Where is that? Lucidum. Lucidum is in Latin means transparent or light.
You said the palm and the what?
Sole.
Okay.
S-O-L-E, not S-O-U-L. That's why I don't like English. How do you say, Louis? No, tú puedes hablar español también, ¿verdad? ¿Cómo dice para when you see something en español? A ver, ¿verdad? En inglés, sí, I see, right? I see that, right? ¿Cómo se llama de mar en inglés?
Más, el
En
más.
inglés.
Sí.
Sí, ¿verdad? Es la misma.
Yeah.
O número 4 o parra. Es la misma en inglés. 4. ¿Sí?
Yeah.
Porque yo me gusta de idioma de latín o como el español o griego porque es muy cínica como la palabra cuando hablando puedes contestar qué es la palabra. Pero en inglés es muy difícil. Pero necesita intérprete todos de palabras in one sentence or a paragraph. That's why it's so hard to understand it. So I try to give very minimal, concise word for the test and for this. So make sure you guys remember to take a picture of this, or no, you gave everybody GroupMe, right?
Yes, I did.
Everybody look in your GroupMe, make sure you got it. Make sure you get it. Sura, you checked too, you weren't there.
What's the last one?
The basal layer. I'm gonna go over it.
Basal layer.
Yeah. The basal layer is the highly metallic layer. The corneum. Let me see. I'm gonna go over it anyway. So I'm gonna go over it anyway. So don't worry. Let's look at this. Cassidy, read keratinocyte, please.
Keratinocytes. The majority of epidermal cells are keratinocytes. They are produced by a fibrous protective protein called keratin.
Protect and waterproof.
Waterproof.
Okay, melanocyte, Rahman.
Produce the yellow to black pigment melanin. Processes extend between the melanocytes and the keratinocytes that allow the keratinocytes to take up the melanin.
What's the S? Stratum spinosum. Why is it spiky looking?
Because it's where keratin starts.
Look.
Because they produce a fibrous protective.
A lot of what?
Keratinocytes.
Yeah, that's why they're spiky, shiny, and looking. So, read this, Rahman.
Prolonged exposure to the sun induces melanin dispersion, which in turn acts as a natural sunscreen.
And then that's melanocyte. So, cellular extension melanocyte, pigment granule, then you got the Golgi apparatus. Of course, you guys know what Golgi apparatus does, right? So, Golgi apparatus, guys, listen to me again. Golgi apparatus is the UPS or the FedEx of your cell. They get the protein from the rough ER, they package the protein, they label the protein, and then they transport the protein via vesicle. Everybody get it? So it's, when I asked you, if you, on your test, if you write down, you said it's a UPS, that's fine. I'll give you whole credit for that. Remember, Golgi apparatus is a UPS or FedEx of the cell because they package the protein, they label the protein, and then they what? They transport the protein via vesicle. So that's the reason why you have Golgi apparatus. Rough ER does what? They synthesize the what? Proteins because they have the ribosome on their membrane. You guys have to remember that, but that's going to be on your exam. What does smooth do?
And lipid synthesis, like they produce.
Suda, what does smooth do?
Detox. Something with lipids.
Yes. What about lysosome?
It
From the smooth. What does lysosome do?
breaks down stuff.
Enzymatic property of breaking down debris and leftover stuff. That's the lysosome. What does peroxisome do?
It breaks down.
Cassidy, what does peroxisome do?
I get this one confused. The peroxide in your, something about hydrogen. Can you just tell me? I don't know.
Barbie, Louis, tell me, you know this one. Grace, peroxisome. What? How does it detoxify? That's good answer.
It's an enzyme that breaks down the peroxide.
You're on the right
I know
ballpark.
I'm like missing half a word.
Hydrogen peroxide, H2O2. You cleave the H and you create molecular water and you create the proton. So you cleave the H and then you make water, molecular water, out of hydrogen peroxide. That molecular water is going to be used up instantaneously. And the proton is going to be used to create a proton gradient.
So for lysosome, it's the enzymatic property of breaking down what?
H2O2.
For lysosome?
Oh, enzymatic property breaking down protein, unfolded protein, debris, and waste. And recycle and to, there's the garbage disposal of the cell. Okay? And if they could use the protein, they'll use it. But if you can't recycle it, they're gonna waste it.
And then the smooth ER is the synthesis.
They produce some liposomes and then they produce what?
What's a liposome?
Fat, adipose.
Liposome, I've never
Yeah.
heard that.
Okay, lipe and zome.
Liposome.
And also lysosome.
Lysosome?
Lysosome too.
What about it?
It produces it.
I just said it.
Debris
No, that was the
and
lysosome. So what's the smooth
Lipe,
ER?
smoothie, I just said it. Liposomes and the lysosome. Yeah. So Langerhans cells. Langerhans cells. What is read Langerhans cell, Carlos?
Langerhans cells, epidermal macrophages that help activate the immune system.
Remember that, guys. Langerhans cell immune system. Now, what is macrophages?
Oh, the thing that phagocytizes bacteria and other
Like what kind of transport system?
Oh,
Vesicular. Is it phago or is it pino?
phago.
Okay, very good. What is Merkel cells, Chris? Carlos.
Oh, it's just a sensory. It's for light touch. It's near the surface.
Light touch,
papillary.
light touch. This is light touch. Merkel cell is light touch. When you go like this, that's your Merkel cell feeling that. Merkel cell. Make sure you remember, this will be 100% guaranteed. I'm going to put a different definition. If you don't see light touch on there, there's none of the answer. If you have light touch on, you know it's going to be a Merkel cell. So again here, you got the corneum, you got the lucidum, you got the granulosum, then you got the spinosum. You see all these? Merkel cell keratinocytes. Remember I told you the reason why they're spiky shaped because they're full of what? Keratinocytes. That's going to be on your MCQ question. Make sure you guys remember that. Then you got the stratum basal. This is the highly mitotic area, the lower layer area that borders the papillary layer. Okay? So look at this guy. You got the Merkel cell. You got the the tactile cells. Then you got the melanocyte. You got the Langerhans site. What is the Langerhans cell?
It's for immunes.
Macrophages and the immune system, right? And then what is we go over the Passian. We go over the Meissner. We haven't gone over the Meissner.
You
Okay,
said
not yet.
something about spiky here.
Yeah, what?
What was that?
The spinosum. Spinosum is very spiky. That's what they call it in Latin. Spiky means spinosum.
Is spiky-
Spinosum because of the keratinocyte. You got a bunch of keratinocytes here.
Spiky in what way? Like their shape?
Yeah, they're shaped.
Yeah.
They look very spiky looking. They look like porcupine.
There is a disease from a bone, or I think like cancer makes it like you have the radiation like modify it, and like your bones go into a spiky. Because you start producing lots of keratin, and like I've seen pictures of this disease or like. This
Yeah, osteogenesis imperfecta does the same thing. A lot of bone disease does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
Lot of
because of the
collagen, like-
keratin, it's because of the keratin.
Yeah, yeah, and
So
it's
that's something?
yeah. Remember, that's where all the medullary cavity, the tuberculae, where they produce the red blood cells. There's a lot of condition with Paget's does that too. Deformity of the bone. Yeah. So again, the whole layer. Okay, go ahead, read it for me, Rahman.
Layers of the epidermis, the basal layer, or stratum germinatum. It's like a Harry Potter word. Deepest epidermal layer firmly attaches to the dermis. Consists of a single row, 75 to 90% of the youngest keratinocytes, either cuboidal or columnar, with 10 to 25% of cells being melanocytes.
Cells undergo.
Undergo rapid division, hence its alternative name, stratum germinativum. The basal cell to surface about 2 to 4 weeks.
So what does it say?
Yeah,
They're
it's,
the youngest on the bottom.
yeah, it's
They're brand new baby cells at the very bottom. One row.
Yeah, 70-90% is the youngest keratinocyte. There's a lot of, where do we find the bulk of the keratinocyte? What layer? Huh? Very good. So, and we get all the metallic layer is what?
Oh, basal layer or
Very good,
germinating.
Mitotic layer.
The
Yeah.
apical layer is the top part?
No, basal layer is very low part. So right here is the
Apical
corneum, right here,
layer,
the
yeah.
corneum right here. The thickest layer. This is all dead tissue. Whatever you slaw off, you know the bloodhound, the dog that smells to pick up scent? You're slung off the corneum. That's what they smell. If you get a electron microscope and you look at everybody's corneum, it looks like Grand Canyon. That's why you got these little microscopic bugs that grows in your mattress. They're able to go in these cranial crooks of your corneum, and they take a crap inside the cranium, and then your body responds to it, and that's why you feel itchy. That's why your back feels itchy and stuff, because the bed bugs get into the crooks and crannies of the corneum. That's what that is.
Really?
Yeah, so that's why the way it's shaped. So 30, that's why you wash your bed sheet once a week. If you have animal, you should wash it even more than 1 week. Yeah. They have even more. Yeah, microscopic mites.
Ever since we did this unit in my last class, I wash my sheets every Sunday.
Yeah, every week.
You
That's
should
like
do
a-
it
My
twice a week.
boyfriend gets so mad that he has to make the bed every single week.
Yeah.
That's
Twice a
just
week.
like-
Professor, you know how in connective tissue you have mesenchyme and they become the sites for
Yeah.
connective? Is there a parallel over here for these cells?
Well, you remember you got several mesenchyme that we went over the epidermis, is that we went over what? The bone tissue, we went over the connective tissue, we got the bone, we got the blood, we got the adipose, and we got the nervous tissue.
They all come from mesenchyme. Is there like a kind of originator for all of these keratinocytes and all that?
Yeah, they all everything in our body comes from mesenchyme cells.
Oh, okay, so
The
the
whole body,
primary
yeah, they all come
originator.
from stem cells. I think when we go over the bone, I'm gonna go over some of the osteoblasts from the osteogenic cell, and I'm gonna go over osteoblasts, and then go over osteogenic cell, that's the mesenchymal cell, and then go over how osteoblast, osteoclast, how did that affect the osteogenic cells of the production of these cells, and where they originate from. Osteoblasts and osteoclasts come from two different areas. They're not the same. And we're gonna go over when we get to the bone, but let me go over the skin section and we'll go over that. Yeah, that's an interesting question. So here, we got a basic demonstration of these pictures here. Now, layers of stratospinosum, the prickly layer. And why did I pick this one first? Like I said, what is this?
The one with the most keratin.
Yeah, several thick contains a web-like system, intermediate filament, spiny projection, and desmosome to hold the cells together. You guys already know what desmosomes are. And provides strength and flexibility, but also melanin granules and Langerhans cell. What does Langerhans cell do?
Immune
Macrophage immune system. What does melanin sites do? Produce melanin, protect your skin from UV. Then they're abundant in this layer. So, granulosum. What is a granulosum? Right there, the girl part, granulosum, right above spinosum. So, then 3 to 5 layers. Lots of keratinocyte appearance. Flatten, nuclei, organelle, disintegrate. You got the you remember one of the major connective tissue is
Hyaline.
abundant what? Hyaline tissue, right? You remember I told you remember HEF. What's HEF connective tissue? You guys remember I told you remember HEF. When I asked you about keratinocyte, what are the components of connective tissue? You guys remember I told you remember HEF, and which is the most abundant and common is this H. And what is hyaline, elastic, cartilage. Yeah, very good. You guys remember these. That's going to be on your short answer. So here, lucidum. Where do you find lucidum at?
And soles and palms.
Yeah. Also fingertip. That's why your fingertip is that. So you get these lucid. This is the clear layer or light area. And here you got the stratum corneum or the horny layer. Now the outermost keratinized cell accounts for 3/4 of the epidermal thickness. Look at that, 3/4, 75% of their epidermal area is corneum. 20-30 layer. It's not 20. I think it's up to. It varies from person to person. Up to 50 layers. Some people are thicker than others. Laminated granules and continuously. Look at this word. Continuously shed and constantly being replaced. But where the new layers coming from?
Basal.
Thank you very much. So corneum, waterproofing. Why are they waterproof? Cassidy?
Keratinocytes.
Very good. Why are you able to protect? Why are they full of what?
Keratin.
Melanin.
No, keratinocyte.
Okay.
Rendering body relatively insensitive to biological, chemical, and physical assault. Because they protect. Dermis.
Can you
Now
go
we get
back?
to the second layer.
Can you go back? That was like 10 seconds.
Okay. what is this, the next layer? What is the next layer called? Dermis. Dermis have two component layers. And they're a papillary layer and there's a reticular layer. Louis, can you do me a big favor? Can you tell us about the papillary layer? Where is it located and what is Mr. Kim gonna ask you in your short answer about the papillary layer? Listen up, guys, listen up. Louis is gonna talk about papillary layer. Cancel.
Doesn't it technically make up the basal layer?
Okay, shut up.
Professor Kim, that was so hurtful.
I said that to Siri.
Huh?
I said that to Siri.
Yeah, Siri?
Yeah,
Your hearing aid was talking to you?
yeah, they're talking to me.
Damn, Carlos.
You said
She was
shut
gonna
up.
answer, it was answering me what is papillary layer. I said, well, he asked me first, I said, shut up, I said, cancel.
It's his
And he said, he said, why are you canceling? I said, shut up. I said, okay.
Carlos started to tell you what it was and you said shut up.
Oh, really? Did I say shut up to you? Okay. Okay, Louis, go ahead.
I don't remember what you asked.
Okay, Carlos, go ahead, take over.
I was just saying doesn't it make up the basal layer make up the papillary layer, and it's also like the part with the ridges?
It's made of the areolar
Okay.
Yeah.
tissue.
Okay. Papillary layer is the layer that borders the superficial dermal layer and the lower half of the epidermal layer. So the thin papillary layer has ridges called the dermal ridges. Dermal ridges, or the dermal papillary layer, has a dermal layer that arise the dermal ridges. The dermal ridges arise to what? Fingerprints. That's what I want you to. That it will be that 4 item will be on your open-ended question on your exam. So make sure you know that. Papillary layer, dermal ridges, and then dermal ridges and fingerprints.
This is a confirmation. We can write like a couple of.
You want to draw it, you can draw it and
I
write it
can
down.
draw that,
Yeah.
and this will be
Yeah,
fine.
you're good. So let's look at the papillary layer. Let's see, Barbie, can you please read the papillary layer and the superficial papillary layer?
Superficial papillary layer, 20% of the dermis. It's made up of areolar connective tissue and collagen and elastic fibers. Its superior surface contains peg-like projections that indent the epidermis called dermal papillae.
Dermal papillae, right there, right after this, dermal papillae. Dermal papillae rise to what?
Dermal
Ridges, and dermal ridges to what?
Fingerprints.
Okay, so read dermal papillae.
Dermal papillae contains capillary loops, Meissner's touch receptors.
Okay, write that down. Meissner is a touch receptor. Meissner cortical. And the free nerve ending is what gives you the descent to your somatic nerve cells for sensation. So the Meissner cortical, write that down. Meissner cortical, write that down, guys. Dermal papillae, because I'm gonna ask you, where is the Meissner cortical located on your dermal layer? And you're gonna write down what? You're gonna write down the papillary layer of the dermal papillae. That's the MCQ question right there. Okay, go ahead, Barbie.
Dermal papillae contains capillary loops, Meissner's touch receptor corpuscles, and free nerve endings.
Thank you very much. And Bianca.
On the palms and soles of the feet, dermal papillae lie atop larger mounds called dermal ridges. The design of a person's epidermal ridges is determined by the manner in which the papillae rest upon the dermal ridges to produce the specific pattern known as handprints, footprints, and fingerprints.
Everybody take a pic of this because this is what you're gonna have to write for your fingerprint, how your fingerprint is produced. Take a pic of it and write in your own word exactly what that says right there. Now, these are genetically determined, therefore unique to each person.
So the question would be, how is the fingerprint?
I'm just gonna
there?
ask you, how is it possible that we're able to obtain the unique fingerprint? So reticular layer, this is the bulk, the deeper layer of your dermis. Okay, Grace, go ahead and read that for us, please.
The first part with, deeper reticular layer, dense, irregular connective tissue. You want to continue?
Yeah, all the way down.
Accounts for approximately 80% of thickness of the dermis. Collagen fibers in this layer add strength and resiliency to the skin. Elastin fibers provide stretch, recoil properties, contains hair follicles, nerves, subcutaneous glands, and sweat glands.
Sebaceous gland, and what's the fancy name for sweat gland?
American.
What's the fancy name?
America?
Armpits?
Apocrine.
Axilla?
Oh.
Yes.
Acro?
What is the
Sebum.
fancy name for sweat?
Oh, pseudoferrous.
Pseudoferrous gland, very good. And you classify pseudoferrous gland as what type of cell? What? Ecrine, holocrine, apocrine?
Acro.
Very good, because it's gonna be matching. I'm gonna put a matching on your test. I'm gonna put ecrine, I'm gonna put holocrine, I'm gonna put apocrine, I'm gonna put sebaceous, I'm gonna put pseudoferrous, and I'm gonna put lipid secretion. And you're gonna match them to the right proper word, so make sure you guys know that. Hypodermis, is this the skin?
No.
No, not part of the skin. Go ahead and read it to me, Annie.
Hypodermis is subcutaneous layer deep to the skin, not a part of the skin, composed of adipose and areolar connective tissue.
Make sure you know this. I'm gonna ask you on the MCQ, what is the hypodermis? You can say it's the very deepest layer of your skin, but not considered the skin, but it's composed of what? Adipose and areolar connective tissue. Melanin. Okay, Sam, please read melanin.
Melanin in epidermis, variety of skin color is due to amount of pigment, not the number of melanocytes. Color of melanin ranges from yellow to reddish, from brown to black. Melanosome?
Yeah, melanin.
Organelles where melanin is made.
Okay, let's get your butt, let's go to the lab real quick.
Do we take everything?
No, not